Hey, real quick, 10.2 spoilers ahead. I have some fake footage on screen right now that's not the raid, but if you're trying to avoid 10.2 spoilers, I don't talk about story here, just the fights, just the mechanics, and of course what's visually available to us, but I don't have any story spoilers or anything like that. Just want to give a quick heads up. BowserTheHealer here, and 10.2 is shaping up quite nicely. You already know I like Mythic Plus quite a bit this season. I'm liking the way that's looking, but I wanted to try out the raid, and with my new raid group, we decided to head over to PTR testing on normal. It's normal, but it was scaled to 437, I think. I misweaved the whole time. In fact, I fist-weaved the entire time, swapping between Chi-Chi and Yulon as necessary, and I had an absolute blast. I'm going to go over some of my thoughts on the bosses, the profile of it, etc. I also want to make more raiding content. A lot of you have asked me for it, and I think I'm at a point in my content creating career with WoW that I'm kind of comfortable with raiding, and I wouldn't mind sharing more of my thoughts. Although I will warn you all, I have strange philosophies on healing and raids, so we'll get into that in another video. Let's talk all about normal. First and foremost, I just want to note I like the mechanics so far. Normal is leading me to believe that heroic and mythic will be really, really interesting, and even the most boring boss, which I'll get into in a little bit, feels like it's leaving itself a lot of room to do something cool for heroic and mythic. So I liked just about every fight. There were various levels of interesting. There were some cool returning mechanics I was told about, but let's talk about the second boss because I want to get this one over with because I only have footage of me standing in front of the boss. This is one of the coolest bosses I fought in a minute. There's 3 weapons on the ground, and depending on the weapon you soak as a team, depends on the mechanic you deal with. The mechanic will go off twice with about a gap between it, like 40 or 30 seconds or something like that. It's a super cool fight because if, let's say, you have 2 mass dispels, well, the mass dispel bleed mechanic would be kind of annoying, right, to have to heal through. But if you have those mass dispels, you can have only a couple of people with the bleeds on them and you're good. But what if your team has no mass dispels? Well, you could maybe save that mechanic for last so that it's like a last hoorah before the boss fight's over, or maybe you kill the boss before you're even that deep into that mechanic. I like that you can go, okay, well, maybe we have all casters, so we do the jumping mechanic first so that we can just make the most out of our up times and whatnot, and have one of the grounded phases later for our next round of cooldowns or something. I don't know. I like that. There's a heal absorb phase, a jumping, like slam particular target phase, and then the mass spell phase. And it's just neat, right? You're going to have strategic differences based on compositions. And I have a feeling, especially for the more casual mid-core raiders, you're going to have a lot of fun coming up with strategies for your unique team. I know there are some raiding teams out there where like everyone and their mother's a warrior. Yeah, you're going to play this fight probably differently than a caster-heavy composition. I like that. The fight after this that we did, we went left side. There was this like lava serpent, and I really like this fight because I didn't play Battle for Azeroth, and at the end of Bifa there was N'Zoth, and I only found out about this via the time events. Oh, why can't I remember the name while I'm recording? The events that are happening where you can get gear, right? And you have to go through the time rift. They're called time rifts. So I only got to fight N'Zoth in a time rift, and that shadow mechanic where the tentacles are gonna slam is super cool, and it's here, and I love it. It's not a hard mechanic, but it adds a little bit of fear, like a little bit of something fun to the fight. The sound effect's good. The shadow is a little spooky, and I like it. It's cool. You split the raid on this party, and there's a lot of healing responsibility per side, a lot of positioning. I can only imagine it'll get tougher on heroic and mythic. And yeah, these fights as a healer kept me engaged. The next one, you fight the centaur character, and this might be my favorite fight actually so far that I've played, right, for normal, I guess. It's like a centaur, and there's lava puddles. More lava puddles means more damage during a certain move. You need to kill the adds, and when they're down, you can heal them, but you don't want the boss to damage them because that makes your healing life harder. You want to get them upright and get them healing the center console. Once the center console's healed, up to three players can touch it, get a breath, and start clearing out lava puddles. There's also one safety ad that you kill, and it creates a safe zone when you heal it. So you might want to leave that corpse down for when you actually need a safe zone, and there's lots of ways to manage this. This fight's only going to get cooler onto other difficulties, and I really liked it. I like when there's fights where healing is not just a part of the fight, but it's also a part of the mechanics. Big fight there, really liked that one. I also liked the council fight on the other side. The council fight, I don't know how many of you have played Final Fantasy XIV Heaven's Ward, but Alexander 7 and 7S right? Just a chaotic fight. And this council has a lot of that energy. There's white mechanics going off. You use each other's mechanics to stop other mechanics from going off. There's lots of great voice lines. It's just, I don't know, it's absolute madness. And I had a lot of fun with this one. I think this will be a lot of groups' like favorite fight in terms of like making memories. I think I'll have a lot with this one. I don't want to spoil all the mechanics, but I will mention that it does involve turning one of these mobs into a duck, and 10 out of 10, the best fight in the game. The boss afterwards has all these green lines. It's a jacuzzi boss, and I don't know how I feel about this one. It was sort of repetitive and boring once we got it down, but the arena seems cool, and I feel like we're just missing something here. Mechanically, maybe not that interesting, but I'm sort of hopeful that Heroic and Mythic will be more interesting, because the room is cool, and I kind of like what we're doing with the lines and the ads. I also just wish the ad was bigger in this fight. It was just like, I had to be sniffing this dude's bark. Like, I was way too close in order to actually do melee. So, I don't know, common Mistweaver problems. Moving on. Final boss I want to talk about was the last boss, the Druid. First of all, I just want to know, I think it's really cool whenever World of Warcraft makes us fight a raid boss that is an enhanced version of a spec. Like, this is just a boomkin with some lava elements. There's Starfall, there's Starfire. It's great. Like, it's neat to see. One of my favorite parts though is that you have to dragon ride him. Well, it's a little clunky actually getting into dragon riding sometimes. Having to work with your team to collect these orbs to power up your team to land and stop the white mechanic is just straight up genius. It's super fun. And if you have a few people on your team that struggle with flying, they can kind of just beeline it and let the more advanced flyers go off and grab the other ones. It's a good design. I really liked this. We didn't, actually, I don't know if I said it in this version of the recording. We didn't clear this fight, unfortunately, but I had a lot of fun with it. And this is actually where we called it for the night. I think people were getting tired, and we didn't have that many raiders, so we were just working with what we had that day. I really like this raid tier. I don't have a lot of raid tiers on my belt, right? I think it was called Sanctum of Domination. The second one in Shadowlands, Sepulchre, and all of Dragonflight is my raiding experience. So I don't have a lot to compare this to, but I really enjoyed it. I felt like the fights were fun. They were engaging. There was cool amounts of uptime that made me feel like I was able to really get there and get in my swings. I feel like I'd enjoy it as a DPS. Good visuals, good voice acting. Thematically, it's just kind of great. I was, again, only one fight really like made me disappointed. I wasn't disappointed. It was more repetitive and boring and not like interesting on normal. But if one fight's not interesting on normal, and I haven't done the last boss yet by any means, that's great news. The difficulty though at 437, I'll be real with you, kind of free, kind of easy. I think some smaller raid groups can be a little easier to heal. It's a lot more responsibility, but it's a little more like dungeon healing. So maybe I just feel at home here, but it's not hard to heal this at 430 something. Like, I was really worried that the raid tier with the item level going up so much like would be hard, but normal is still a bit of a cakewalk for me. Now, I don't think that means it's going to be a cakewalk for more casual players. It'll likely be a nice fun challenge, with heroic being something worth going after, and then mythic of course will probably be very hard. You know, you gotta hope. I like it. It's fun, but it did feel a little easy. I did this in our current tier set too. I did not grab anything from the new items because I wanted to see how it would feel in my gear currently, and it felt fine and very doable. And I have a feeling at 445 where I am right now, or 446, we're just gonna destroy this raid. So I don't know how I feel about that. I almost feel like I wish normal was more hard, but I know that like that wouldn't be very fair to more casual players. So I think maybe, I hope heroic is a nice strong difficulty, but I had to miss that that testing period. And there's a mythic and LFR testing period coming up, which is great, but I'll probably be missing that as well, unfortunately. But I hope you all enjoy the raid tier. It's looking good. Like, I'm genuinely excited to get in there on week 1 and go crazy with my team, have a lot of fun, make some good memories. Now, I want to know from all of you, because I love doing my research, what was your favorite raid tier, right? Mechanically, what was the most interesting? If you have one that's just good memories with friends, tell me as well. I want to do some research. I want to go back, look at these raids, maybe watch some healer POVs and really see what they were doing. But I loved this one. This is absolutely my favorite raid tier of all of my WoW experience, which is only you know, an expansion and a half, but I had a lot of fun with it. So I'll see you all in the next one. Let me know what kind of raiding content you want from me, and I'll catch you all later.